Hello, everybody. My name is Jerome Wright, and once again, you're joining me on my Jerome Wright YouTube channel here on YouTube. Okay. In this video, I'm going to be describing some interesting details about locations in our world where you have scenarios like this here, and I want you to look at this in a different way after this video is done, and what would inspire a structure to be placed at such a high location. And like even in Peru we have the Sky City, and in Sri Lanka we have them ancient ruins above a higher elevated rock formation. And I mean, just pretty much globally you see these scenarios and you say to yourself, why would a person or why would beings build so high in elevation above sea level? I think some of these locations are like 6,000 feet above sea level. That's Peru Sky City. It's 6,000 feet above sea level. And I'm gonna describe to you and make for common sense what is happening here. This right here is a monastery, a religious monastery, and it's in Greece. Okay, it's called the Holy Monastery, or Saint Bavaria, or something like that along those lines there. And I first like to go into detail. First of all, now you have a religious sect or a religious group, do this, and you would look and say, well, maybe they're building this place to become closer to God. Well, there's no effect that you get from them being closer to God. So logically thinking, if they're this high up and you're that low down, don't you, there's a reasoning to be understood here, people. With them being closer to God, what are you getting out of that? But yet your monies, your support is what calls for the building of such locations. I don't know what something like this would cost, but for God's sake, people, this should be to get everything up here. This must be in the beyond the millions, in the billions somewhere. You're talking about a whole compound up above a pillar that's miles up in the air. Now, I'm going to take us to, this is the Sky City in Peru, that ancient city. I hope this doesn't fall. And I'm going to go through these images. I'm going to try to go through this quick. Here you see cattle up in the Sky City in Peru. I'm going to bring up another image here so you can... Why come I don't have another image up here of that? Well, this is the Sky City. I'm trying to figure out why I don't have another image up here of that Sky City. And I thought that I had a clear image. So, okay, here it is here. I do have another image. I have to back off. I have to back off here. Let me back off. And then my ink was running out on this image here, people. Let me try to... So this is the Sky City. Ancient Peruvian Sky City. If you Google that image, you will get this. Okay? This is 6,000 feet above sea level. In Sri Lanka, Nigeria, let me see. Here's another location where there's an ancient city that was up on top of here. Where we at here, people? That's pretty much what it. See that there? An ancient city above, and look at down below. Here, what that, you know what I mean? It gives you a basic idea on what's happening. All right. Now, first of all, I'm gonna bring this image back up. I wonder if I can give more light, and then how? Okay, there you go. All right, now I want to describe these locations to you. First of all, one would think there's several reasons why locations like this would be up that high. All right, and this is through my paranormal experience and encounter. I instinctively can feel what is happening here. But I'm going to break it down to you in layman's terms. When I see a location like this, you know what I see? Automatically, when I looked at this image from above like this, you know what I thought of? Here it is here in a smaller sense. You know what I thought of? I first thought of Noah's Ark. Then I thought of an airplane carrier, an aircraft carrier, a naval a naval airship carrier. I thought of this as those. Here's the flying bridge. Here's the deck where the jets would land. The only thing that was missing was the body of water that was around. Then I started thinking of flooding, of all of this down here being filled with water. I started thinking of all of this being filled with water. Then I started looking and saying, imagining these here lines being water lines, and all of this here at once upon a time being filled with water. Then I started looking at how young the trees were down here. These trees down here, I could almost imagine the oldest, all of them being under 1,000 years old. You know what I mean? Maybe what, 5, 6, 7, maybe at the tops, and maybe one might be 800 years old. Then I started imagining why or how dinosaurs that would tower over this, if these dinosaurs, when they existed, be many stories high, their necks would be able to go over top of that. I said to myself, there's no way that vegetation like this supported them. So I'm stating that the vegetation that these dinosaurs enjoyed for food would have had to been towering like maybe 30 or 40 times over what these trees would be. So I started saying to myself, then where did everything go? Everything can't be explained away by a meteor or strike, a meteorite hit on Earth, an impact on Earth. Everything can't be described as in that scenario. I'm meteorite out. You know what I mean? You can't state that everything disappeared on that. So the only other devastating thing that could cause for such destruction and devastation in our world would be the number one thing that we should look to in the first place: the large bodies of water in our world. Now, a change which calls for these areas to become so filled with water that our ancients knew. And this is an ark. Not one in the floating sense that are real small that is talked about in the biblical sense, but on a large scale that supports the idea and the theory behind all of that. But no, this is not Noah's Ark. This is where the idea of Noah's Ark came from in the biblical sense, because all of this stuff here existed already. Areas and locations around the world. Our Caucasian counterparts, which called for the ancient text of that of Noah's Ark and all of that, that all came from after these civilizations of people. So these ideas of these monasteries being built on such locations like this were done so behind the idea of these people being the first explorers on our world, and the stolen informations that they got when they visited place, when they sent out Christopher Columbus and the conquistadors, when the kingships and queenships and the earlier on popes, ancient religion, when they sent out, when they commissioned explorations on our world and discovered locations at high altitudes above sea level like this, they understood immediately that these people were in preparations for devastations which they experienced, and they found the records, which calls for them to create similar scenarios and sanctuaries that made them safe from earthquakes. Because just imagine this people withstanding an earthquake on a large scale. I mean, it takes a lot to move a mountain. Are these pillars? These people knew from the stolen information from our ancestors that such locations would go barely unaffected by an earthquake of large scale, by flooding of high levels, and these sky cities were built. The technology and the understanding, you probably say, well, how about Jerome if they built this to ward off people of war when they were in war? I mean, this was a safe sanctuary. Okay, I go along with that as well too. But I also go with the logical and common sense that if they had the technology to build a city and raise stuff from the ground up, these animals themselves and the materials to build that, then surely they had the technology to defend themselves on the lower plains where the people were that was marching upon them. People, there's a problem with what's going on in our world. Even right now, as I speak, I mean, our glaciers are melting, and it's already theorized that in the glacier melts that the water levels are rising. Even in my area, I see that in our marshlands, I see already that trees are falling over. The roots can't be sustained in the soils that they're being held in. They're falling over. I see marshlands spreading out and expanding. Our areas are experiencing higher water table lines than unusual. All of these warning signs are there. And then with us being in so close of proximity of living in the areas of water, I mean, it wouldn't take nothing but just a slight shift or change that unbalances everything. An unbalance that will create an unbalance in everything that is happening. And this water table, our water line would be up, our oceans would be right at this. Now who would be safe? These people. These people. And these people. And their DNA banks that they created. It's my position that it's always been about who we genetically are. And where in our world would there be a safer place to keep genetic information and who you genetically were and your identity than in higher up altitudes like here. You're protected from water and everything right up in these locations. Now, when you go here, these areas are all in association with animals everywhere globally, whether it be lions, whether it be reptiles, whether it be turtles. I found turtles in Angkor Wat. You see my Angkor Wat video here. It's my position that all of these areas have information that was related to the genetic bridging and the genetic altering of mankind from their originating state, which is that of the ape and our African ancestor, and the creatures that are represented in a monumentous way are the creatures that was used to genetically alter themselves further from those ancestors. My position that these locations, talking about Noah's Ark, the creatures that are shown here, they said that it's a lion on a pillar. I have an image of it, but I don't have it here. But the feet on that statue, on that monument, on that statue, that when you come in, are not the feet of a lion. I mean, I know reptilian feet, I know lion feet. I mean, even someone had contacted me when I made that video and said, listen, I've been living in this area of Sri Lanka all my life, and I have always told my friends that I do not believe that they are lion feet. A person contacted me in my video. And I mean, it took me just a matter of one glance to look at that and say, hey, these are not lion's feet. On that huge monument to the entranceway to this place. People, what better scenario of a Noah Ark? A little boat with all of these things on it. With all these animals, one of each kind of animals. That scenario is not fitting on a little ship floating out in a barren and an unrelenting ocean area where flooding is going on. Noah, his ship, and his animals would have went to the bottom. But this scenario of Noah's Ark, this is the greatest ship in the world. I'm not saying that this is Noah's Ark specifically, but I'm stating that the idea, the concept of Noah's Ark is based on a shaved down mountaintop, a rock, a Gibraltar, and it was a gathering of DNA from all different areas, animals, and sheltered in little places like this. And look how this even looks like little bins for animals, cages, farm animals. How you would expect a farm, an overview of a farm to look. For cultivation of animals and for taking care of things. Look at this. Now, imagine this flooded with water. It's not hard to imagine because all of these trees are young. The trees that were actually larger or whatever, if there was flooding, would have been washed away. Like a subduction scenario. You see, the ancient history of our dinosaurs, they're large in size, is unsupporting of the vegetation that is here. So not only was there an unexplained scenario of what happened to our dinosaurs, the trees, the food that they dined on, the effects that they had on the landscape of our world. All of this. There is no evidence of a meteorite doing all of this damage. But the evidence is overwhelmingly clear that it's possible that the oceanic properties, elements, the bodies of water in our world is what caused this. And basically, all we have to do, all science has to do, is go and see if levels of salt water actually rose to these levels. The same thing with the pyramids and any other sanctuary that are global. All they have to do is go and see, take tests, and see if water levels were at this level at any given time in the history of this. Now, in the scenario of Noah's Ark, they were talking about coating the inside and outside with this coating, like a paste. When I look at this image, I also see, well, besides feces and urine and everything else being dumped off of this mountainside, raw sewage, human waste, animal waste being ran off. I look at this as being, should have evidences of that as well. These animals, this dump, this waste, this bodily waste, dumped off the sides, this filled with water, so they had no other choice but to dump it down. Now, in a scenario where these people knew that human waste would cause an inhumane or a bacterious scenario, I can imagine them coding the size of this location based on their knowledge with something that would create a sense of where this stuff, this waste, could slide off and slide over, and where the bacterious effect from this stuff coming back up into them and affecting this little sky city would not be. It has less of a chance of it reversing itself and actually having an ill effect toward the people, is what I'm stating. So, when it's talking about coating the inside and outside, meaning to ward off infection and bacteria, and and outside invaders, mosquitoes, things that cause plague, flies, all of that. Imagine this, people, this sky city, in the scenario that I'm telling you, filled with animals and filled with people. And this being flooded, an oceanic scenario. So these people would have had to have the knowledge to coat this mountainside around the body of this with some type of agent that would have actually repelled or reflected what was being dumped off this raw sewage, the urine, in some cases blood, guts, all of this stuff would have stopped bacteria and mold from absorbing into the mountainside and reversed the effect and came back up and made these people sick while they were waiting for these waters to go back down so they could migrate back out again. I'm going to take you back here. Our world, one morning, or one day, without warning, our world floods. These people being what? Maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe 6, maybe 7,000 feet in elevation above those waters. This holy sanctuary up in the air. And also I want to let you know, people, that even in the background, if you look back here, it looks like once upon a time there was a similar city like this, but made into the rocks back here. So when you Google that image of that holy monastery in Greece that is elevated, it's Santa Barbara, and it's a sky city, almost like a it's a monastery. I got the name there somewhere, but anyway, it almost seemingly looks like back here in the back here, and that there was an inhabitation of that area, that this place was habitated before, just like what they did. You see, people, when you have the knowledge, a stolen knowledge, it doesn't take much to figure out why these people were here, or why our ancestors went up so high. It wasn't because they were, because look, there's no threat now of these people being targeted from down below. There's no threat. There's nobody messing with these people. So why would they be up so high? Again, you want to believe, well, maybe they want to be closer to God? Well, how come you're not being invited up there to be closer to God as well? The world helped them build this through donations. So why are you not being invited to up there through your congregation or through your affiliation, through your money, because your money built this, not just the people of Greece, but globally, because these religious sects take in money globally. So why are the doors not open to this location so everybody, the millions, the billions of people that made donations to have this location built, why can't they be invited up to be closer to God? Why are just the select few in this scenario? You know why? Because it's not that. What is in this location is this is a compound, no different than that of what a David Koresh or any other person would be to do a compound, but this is a genetic bank. In the event that there is a catastrophic scenario, and which is impending, it's actually going to happen, because you see our glaciers melting in a scenario, in a live sense, in a real-time sense of global warming. The water levels are going to rise. So everything that these people have been doing is saved. And on locations like this, where people have enough sense to build locations like this, and like this, they are the sole survivors that are left. Those of you that call yourself building a house on a mountain that's dirt, you will be washed away, because water, the erosion effects on soil will be washed away. That can be affected by earthquakes. These sanctuaries here, and those like our pyramids, are what sustained and calls for these ancient existences to go on and survive another day, where the masses of people would be lost. You hear talk of where half the world's, like about maybe 50 or 60% of our world's population will be destroyed. You hear talk of that in the future. It won't be these people. They won't be included in that. These people are like, I mean, what better place, people, would you rather be in the case of a flood? While the rest of the world is drowning in oceanic waters, these people are up and then had this place here, this compound, filled with everything possibly that you could imagine. And not just that, with technology that you probably don't even know exists. They probably have a little bean that you can eat to keep your stomach filled for 3 and 4 weeks. Based on stolen technology that they took on their early on explorations from people like this. Our world's ancient knowledge of everything that have ever happened in our world, the entire record, was stolen and then suppressed. Who was it stolen by? Look at all of those people that insisted upon exploring our world. They destroyed civilizations of people, stole their genetic identity, stole their riches, their gold, and transformed it into something else divine for you to believe in. My name is Jerome Wright. You're watching my Jerome Wright YouTube channel. Look at these landscapes of our world, which looks very much like down here. This is not supporting of our dinosaur or ancient prehistoric history. They could not feed off of this. These trees would have had to been, our trees to feed our dinosaurs would have probably had to be anywhere from 6, 10, maybe 12,000 feet towards the skyline, just to feed our dinosaurs, just for our dinosaurs to inhabit in them. Our dinosaurs walking across this would be like a grass area. This would be like a walk in the park for our world's dinosaurs. The ancient history of our, like we walk through our manicured lawns and our parks with cut grass. That's what this would have been like for our dinosaurs. Our dinosaurs, it couldn't sustain a feeding environment in this. These trees would have had to have been 6 to anywhere 13, maybe even 20,000 feet tall for our dinosaurs to even live. So where did it go? It was all washed away. It was all washed away. The survivors of mankind's being, we evolved from the dinosaur. The survivors survived on locations like this, on arcs, on mountain arcs, the Rock of Gibraltar. They survived on arcs like this. And then we have a group of people come along afterwards, create the text for us to read, and turn locations like this from their knowledge into an idea, into like a mythical stories that a man once upon a time in this land took wood and sticks from out of trees and made this vessel where all of these animals fit on and would float in the water in a flood scenario. That's only a small scenario of a Noah's Ark. Let me bring up a little piece of paper. Noah's Ark would be, in this scenario, comparable to my little eraser on that paper right there. Look at there on my pen. the eraser, that would be Noah's Ark. Now this here is an ark, people, that supports the idea of that. Not just that, people. That's not just the only ark, but there's such arks like that all around the world. The Peruvian Sky City, the ancient Peruvian, here's another ark, right here. And what makes this so, I love this picture because what makes this so good is that here you've even shown animals up here. Look at all of these different animals, how it fits perfectly. Look how they're grazing in these little areas. Look people. The scenario that I described in a natural way, already there. Look at that. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. My name is Jerome Wright. You're watching my Jerome Wright YouTube channel. If you like this video, hit like. Thank you. Up in the Sky City in Peru. I'm going to bring up another image here so you can... Why come I don't have another image up here of that? Well, this is the Sky City. I'm trying to figure out why I don't have another image up here of that Sky City. And I thought that I had a clear image. So, okay, okay, here it is here. I do have another image. I have to back off. I'll have to back off here. Let me back off. And then my ink was running out on this image here, people. Let me try to... So this is the Sky City. Ancient Peruvian Sky City. If you Google that image, you will get this. Okay. This is 6,000 feet above sea level. In Sri Lanka, Nigeria, let me see. Here's another location where there's an ancient city that was up on top of here. Hello everybody, my name is Jerome Wright, and once again you're joining me on my Jerome Wright YouTube channel here on YouTube. Okay, in this video I'm going to be describing some interesting details about locations in our world where you have scenarios like this here, and I want you to look at this in a different way after this video is done, and what would inspire a structure to be placed at such a high location. And like even in Peru we have the Sky City, and in Sri Lanka we have them ancient ruins above a higher elevated rock formation. And I mean, just pretty much globally you see these scenarios and you say to yourself, why would a person or why would beings build so high in elevation above sea level? I think some of these locations are like 6,000 feet. I mean, with them being closer to God, what are you getting out of that? But yet your monies, your support is what calls for the building of such locations. I mean, I don't know what something like this would cost, but I mean, for God's sake, people, this should be to get everything up here. I mean, this must be in the beyond the millions, in the billions somewhere. You're talking about a whole compound up above a pillar that's miles up in the air. Now, I'm going to take us to, this is the Sky City in Peru, that ancient city. I hope this doesn't fall. And I'm going to go through these images. I'm going to try to go through this quick. Here you see cattle. Where are we at here, people? That's pretty much what it, see that there? An ancient city above, and look at down below. You know what that, you know what I mean? It gives you a basic idea on what's happening here. All right. Now, first of all, I'm gonna bring this image back up. I wonder if I can give more light, and then how? Okay, there you go. All right, now I want to describe these locations to you. First of all, one would think there's several reasons why locations like this would be up that high. All right, and this is through my paranormal experience and encounter. I instinctively can feel what is happening here. But I'm going to break it down to you in layman's terms. When I see a location like this, you know what I see? Automatically above sea level. That's Peru Sky City. It's 6,000 feet above sea level. And I'm gonna describe to you and make for common sense what is happening here. This right here is a monastery, a religious monastery, and it's in Greece. Okay, it's called the Holy Monastery, or Saint Bavaria, or something like that along those lines there. And I first like to go into detail. First of all, now you have a religious sect or a religious group, do this, and you would look and say, well, maybe they're building this place to become closer to God. Well, there's no effect that you get from them being closer to God. So, logically thinking, if they're this high up and you're that low down, there's a reasoning to be understood here, people.